When did Willow Smith become Willow?
Oh, that's a question. Wow. My first album, that was definitely a rough one. That was a rough one. That was a rough one. My second album, I felt like, yes, like I was like, I'm hitting these cellos, I'm hitting this acoustic guitar, like I'm singing about real things. Like that was when I really felt like Willow Smith was turning into Willow. And then when I did Willow, I'm pretty sure that was my third album. When I did Willow, that's when I was like
I've arrived.
Yeah. And it's given a little bit of psychedelic rock. It's given a little bit of like trippy, like it's given trippy, almost like you're on shrooms. It's almost like you're on shrooms on that album.
Yeah,
like when I was
trippy.
listening back and I was like, wow, like I'm really giving you, I'm on Like a Bird, expansive harmonies and just creating that space. Creating that space. And that's always what I want to do. I just want to create that space in every way that I can. But yeah, Willow. I wish Willow was my first album. I know you have to go through things and you have to evolve, but I wish Willow was my first album. If Willow was my first album, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah, but you had to go through the process.
I had to. And a lot of people say that they like the first, and a lot of people say that they like Ardipithecus, which is great. I mean, Wait a Minute is off of Ardipithecus, which is crazy.
Everyone's gonna like their own thing that resonates with them.
100%.
Coping Mechanism is my favorite.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
too.
For me, that's like, wow, that is eye-opening. What a beauty. I hope you were so proud of it because it's very special. It's very standalone. What does success mean to you? Do you feel successful that you put this album out?
I do. I really, really do. And there have been moments where I've felt successful where there wasn't lots of commercial success, quote unquote. And when I really feel successful is when I feel like I have thoroughly pushed myself to that next level.
Right.
And Coping Mechanism is 100% represents to me leveling up.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more that I want as a person and as a musician than to level up, but to also, in the process of leveling up, allow people to see inside of me and allow people to see we're all broken. We all have things that we need to think about and that we need to clean up inside of ourselves and that we need to express. And we all have the opportunity and the capability to become the people that we really want to become. And I feel like that's all, like when I listen to my favorite artists, they make me feel like I can truly be who I want to be.
Yes.
And a lot of people, I feel like that's one of the hardest things about life is feeling like, you know, lost or not knowing who you really are or not knowing. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns.
Yep.
There's a lot of unknowns in this world that are just floating around and we're all just supposed to act like it's all okay. But art kind of brings you in and says, it's okay. And brings you right to the heart and says, we're going to do this and we're going to do it together. And that's what makes me feel successful.
You're such a spiritual person. I love that because so am I.
Yeah.
What is it that grounds you or drives you or keeps you feeling positive and hopeful?
Wow. Keeps me feeling positive. I was just talking to my friends the other day about Frida Kahlo, and she had a terrible accident. And after that accident, she painted some of the most amazing paintings of her career. And even though that's tragic, knowing that the human spirit is capable of those kinds of feats, and that stretching herself, like I can imagine that she was broken, decimated emotionally, physically, you know, but she still chose to pick up the paintbrush. She still chose to pick up the paintbrush and make beautiful things.
Right.
And that is what keeps me going. Not just that, but stories like that.
Right.
Of amazing artists.
The
human spirit of amazing artists, amazing people who don't stop and who keep giving of themselves so that others can give of themselves.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest service. And it all comes down to service. Like, her picking up that paintbrush and deciding to paint again is a huge service to humanity.
Yes. And that's important to you, to use your platform and to use your music for service.
100%.
And I love that. That's really important.
Yeah.
And to have intention.
Yes, 100%. If you don't have intention, what are you doing? What are we doing?
Right.
If we don't have any kind of, if we don't want to touch people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And surrounding ourselves with loved ones, people who celebrate us.
Yes.
Your father made the most beautiful post recently, and it was about the daddy-daughter bond is real. I mean, that was the sweetest thing. How does he feel about your music? What is your relationship like now?
Wow. He was really like spearheading when I first started my music. He was really spearheading like the logistics of it all. And, you know, we've talked about it time and time again. He is a ruthless go-getter. And that's one of his deepest strengths. And also one of his downfalls. And we talked about this at length. And, you know, our daddy-daughter relationship, there was a strain put on it a little bit because I was trying to express to him at a time when he wasn't ready to hear it that this wasn't what I wanted to do. And that was hard for us. But after some time goes on and you realize, like, wow, when you talk about it and you go, wow, you know, his dad was like a militant type person who was just very like, no, you don't stop even if your feet are bleeding. You keep walking, you keep going, you keep so and so and so. And so that's a really beautiful trait to have because life is about resilience.
Yes.
But sometimes life is about softness and listening and being like, let me see what's happening here. And I feel like he taught me resilience and I taught him that softness.
That's beautiful.
And we keep teaching each other that. And the reason why I tell that Frida Kahlo story, I don't feel like I don't feel like that would be my source of groundedness and my source of like stories like that, not just that story, but that whole feeling and that whole sentiment if I didn't have that experience with my dad.
Right.
And realizing how important resilience is and how important sticking it through is and just sticking to your guns, 10 toes down, no matter what. And that's the biggest gift that he's given me, not only in life, but looking at it through a musical lens. It just makes me love it even more.